Come on, you YouTube family. Let's get after it, everybody. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as it pertains to the U.S. men's national team player pool. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Yes. What is up, everybody? And welcome to Josie Altidore's favorite podcast in Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Trash Can, Cream Cheese, Conradinho Conrad, alongside Charlie Chuck Wagon, Davies and Heath Pearce. And guys, we've had some big midweek games that aren't Champions League games, but there was one Europa League game due to postponements surrounding our players. But first and foremost, I haven't seen you for a couple days. Heath, you're looking good, kind of. You look like you've been out like playing pickleball on the beach or something. What's happening with you?
I'm a little bit just disheveled at the moment, but life is good. I got a little sun this morning. That's probably what it is. I actually nice
glow. You have a nice glow.
I felt a little kind of claustrophobic today. You ever spend enough time in your house where you're like, I need to go outside? That's the issue. So did that, and I'm feeling a little bit better. But thanks for noticing, Jimmy. For better or worse, thank you for noticing.
Hey, it's neither nor here nor there, I think is the phrase I wanted to say. How about you, Chuck? What's going on? You looking good in your is that the US's second kit? What do we
This is that warm-up kit, and I saw somebody said, looks like a rainbow was thrown up on my shirt. I'm hyped for playoffs tonight. MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Galaxy, LAFC, and Cincinnati versus the Philadelphia Union. We had Bedoya on the show, so I can't wait to watch these matches tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to get into both of the MLS games tonight, and then we'll save our preview. For
Jimmy, what was our picks, by the way? Does producer Alex have our picks screenshotted or whatever? I don't
know if he does or doesn't. I just put up a YouTube video on my own channel, shameless plug alert, for my previews for these last four games. But if anybody wants to watch, I have LAFC and Philly winning tonight. I think the two number one seeds, though historically don't usually do well after having a first round bye. I think both of them are going to somehow find a way to get through. Do you guys agree with that? If we just get into these MLS predictions really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, yeah. So let's break down the LA Derby, El Tráfico. This is the 17th time they've played against each other. And at home at the Bank of California Stadium, LAFC's only lost once in all competitions. The last time they have played in the playoffs was only once, and it was at the Bank, and LAFC won 5-3. So, Heath, as our resident LAFC color commentator, I'm sure I know where you're leaning, but how do you think this game is going to play out?
I mean, if you saw the way the LA Galaxy put away Nashville, I mean, they're going to be tough to play against. They're going to play scrappy. They'll be hard, and I don't think it'll be easy whatsoever. But I do think LAFC will win this one. I'm actually going to be at this game. I'm taking my kids, actually, to their first professional soccer game. So,
wow.
You know, when you talk about like calling in. By the way, Bedoya thought I didn't have any kids. I was like, bro, you obviously don't ever look at my social media because that's the only thing I got going right now is just posting pictures of my kids. But I'm taking them to their first ever game. I'd hoped to take them to Angel City this year, but Jimmy was giving away his tickets so quickly that they were tough to get. And they just weren't quite ready there to have like late nights, because I've got a 2-year-old. But now this is going to be the one. And one introduction it'll be. But I think LAFC win this one because I just think they're programmed a little bit differently than we've seen in the past under Steve Trundle. I think they've got a few different game plans they can go to when things aren't working, or at least the depth of a roster that can play a different way if things aren't working. So I'm going to give them the win in this one. But I do think it'll be tight and could be a very it could go the other way. I wouldn't put that out whatsoever, but I think LAFC.
What's your final score?
Yeah, he's covering both bases here.
Yeah. What's the final score? I went on CBS Sports HQ earlier.
I'm hedging
in over 2.5.
I'm hedging for future employment, Charlie. You know what I mean? Like, I refuse to ever say anything bad about anybody just because, someday I might need that favor, like free tickets to a game in the playoffs for the first time. No, I'm going to go,
by the way.
Yeah. The playoff games like this, I could see it opening up, and I'm going to say 3-1. It's going to be tight for a while, but I think LAFC score quite a bit of goals, and you know how these are at the end of the games. The game opens up, and it's just put one away to just bury the game. So 3-1 for LAFC.
Okay, now, Charlie, I just have to throw this out there as kind of a what the hell is going on. Chicharito's up for league MVP, but on the Phillies side, Daniel Gazdag is not. The guy had 22 goals and 6 assists and was obviously one of the most important players for Philly this season, though they had a lot of important players that stepped up and played well. What the hell's going on with that? No disrespect to Chicharito, but the guy missed some key penalties along the way. And I don't think Gazdag would have done that. Anyway, tell us about your LA Derby scoreline and what you think is going to happen there first, and then we can transition over to Philly.
I have LAFC winning MLS Cup. I just think at home they play, 3 games to win MLS Cup. I just think when you're looking at the midfield, LA Galaxy have strengthened it, no doubt. Ricky Puig is a baller. And I'd even say Gaston Brugman comes in and has really solidified that midfield. So you have now Ricky Puig playing underneath, being a supplier for Chicharito, but also being able to find and spray the ball, which didn't exist before. But LAFC just have too many weapons. Dennis Bouanga down the left side. You have Carlos Vela, Gareth Bale probably coming off the bench. And Christian Arango, I think that was the best thing with Gareth Bale coming to the team is he motivated and pushed Arango to be better. To work harder, to finish his chances if he has any. And this is just a team playing with a lot of spirit. Galaxy backline still, for me, is not good enough. I don't trust them. Martin Caceres comes in. Martin Caceres, I feel he's made them better, but I still don't have much confidence in that group being consistent to keep clean sheets and to keep LAFC from getting enough opportunities in a match to win.
It could be one of those games, too, where it's going to be the goalkeeper that ends up proving to be the biggest difference. Which one can make the bigger of the saves throughout this competition? I
take LAFC's goalkeeper, too. Maxime Crepeau, for me, is one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big
the one
difference
that's kept them in a lot of games. Yeah, they've never had outside of their first 2 seasons, they've never had a true out-and-out number one that has been that reliable goalkeeper that makes the big saves once in a while, that needs to make the big saves to keep their teams in matches. And Crepeau had a little bit of a dip middle of the season, but by and large has been one of their best players in terms of consistency over the whole year.
Yeah, and you're right. I think historically they've always had a little bit of trouble in that goalkeeper spot, or at least the years preceding this one. Now let's talk Philly versus FC Cincinnati. Chuck, I'll come to you on this one. Cincinnati said, or didn't say, but they put out a statement ultimately by beating New York Red Bulls away from home 2-1. That's their first ever playoff game in MLS. And they did the business. And I thought I was pretty impressed. They scored a very good goal at the end. Brandon Vasquez beating out Aaron Long. We've already discussed the intimate details of that particular play. Now it pertains to Aaron Long in particular. Do you think, though, because Pat Noonan was an assistant for Jim Curtin at the Philadelphia Union for 4 years, that this FC Cincinnati team, who Philly didn't beat, by the way. They drew 1-1 in Philly, and they also lost in Cincinnati 3-1. Could be that bogey team, because then you also add in Chris Albright. Chris Albright was in the front office for Philly for 8 years, and now he's the general manager of FC Cincinnati. There's just a lot of ties between the two clubs, and I wonder if that means that FC Cincinnati, like I just mentioned, is Philadelphia Union's bogey team. What do you say, Chuck?
It very well could be, but the Union are so strong at home.
So good.
So good, and especially at home. I have them winning this game, but losing in the next round if Montreal takes care of business and beats New York City FC. I could see Montreal beating Philly on the road just by the way they're set up. However, I think the Union, their back line, Andre Blake, goalkeeper of the year. I mean, just from that standpoint, very tough to get opportunities to score. And Carranza and Mikel Ur, just 2 strikers that have worked really well this year, scoring goals. And I think their partnership is starting to set the tone for this group.
Yeah, I don't see any weak spots, Heath, in Philly's lineup. I mean, you look at them, you have 2 of their 3 defenders, or 2 of the 3 Defender of the Year finalists were both from Philly. Glesnes ended up winning it yesterday. Congratulations to him. Andre Blake was named as the goalkeeper of the year. Congratulations to him. Where's their weakness? I just don't know if it exists. So when FC Cincinnati gets their chances, they have to take them, as they have done in their 2 previous matchups so far this season.
I mean, I would say that they're probably, when you just match up Philadelphia Union in general, right, is that they haven't played the young players as much as I think that the model would have liked, even when they were up a lot of goals. And so I would question, as you got the longer you can take the Union into their depth, I think your better chances. Of course, they've got incredible capabilities off the bench, but they haven't really gone to a lot of the young guys that have that potential for a lot of this season. So I would say that's where I think Cincinnati could have some opportunities. The deeper they go, the longer they force Union to go deeper into their bench, whether that's, the late in the second half or stoppage time, extra time, that sort of thing. But they are not a weak team whatsoever, and have at times throughout the season had the best player in every position on the field at different times of the season, right? Whether that's their center backs, whether that's goal scorer, whether that's their midfield in terms of statistics and performance. If they can bring all that together, I don't see them being stopped in this one. But like you said before, Jimmy, it is the playoffs. There are certain factors that are just different, and we'll find out. I think they win this one, but the back of your mind always talks about the 1 seeds and goes,
I know.
Well,
it's like
it's that 3-headed monster. I mean, Vasquez, Brenner, and Lucho Acosta. If they defend with 7 and attack with those 3, you give yourself a good chance on the counter.
No, it's interesting. What's interesting though, and I think we need to bring up too, is that Philadelphia scored more goals than anybody else in MLS this year and gave up the least amount of goals this year. Their goal difference was plus 45. It's really, really impressive. They've only lost once in the last 2 months. That was a 4-0 thrashing, by the way, to Charlotte FC. That's their biggest butt kicking of the year. But that's their only loss.
It cost them the shield. It
did cost them the shield. You're right. But amongst that, at the end of August, they beat DC United 6-0. Right after that game, they beat Colorado 6-0. Then they beat Atlanta United 4-1. I mean, they were just scoring goals for fun. They beat the Red Bulls away from home 2-0, then beat Orlando City 5-1. I mean, they went on this stretch where it was a joke. I mean, they weren't giving up any goals, so they couldn't stop scoring. And you wonder if they can catch that type of fire. If they do, obviously, they're going to be unbeatable in these playoffs, which is what I'm banking on because I have them to go the whole way, which means I'm definitely going to have them beating FC Cincinnati. So that's our preview for tonight's 2 games in MLS playoffs. Make sure you check them out if you get a chance. All the playoff games have been incredibly exciting, and some more eyeballs on it will never hurt. Continue to grow the game in this country.
Hold on,
all
Jimmy.
right,
Jimmy, hold on. Somebody asked me if this is a lotion over my shoulder, so I just want to address this real quick before anybody. This is
oh boy,
this
here
is
comes a plug.
No, it's not a plug. Actually, it's somebody that Kalen Carr knows.
It's like magic spray.
Cool designer. It's called Nutmeg Magic Spray. You know the spray that they get with the injuries where they come on the field. Yeah. And this guy sent it to me, and it's in the shape of like a spray paint can. I thought that was kind of cool. It's pain relief for footballers. It says.
Hashtag ad.
That's cool that you put your lotion in a spray can, dude. I've never seen anybody do that before.
It's spray on lotion. No, it's from the Football Collective. It's kind of cool. Yeah. I think this from like a decade ago, but it's a pretty awesome.
All right, this
thing.
was all planned.
This was definitely planned.
This is his marketing team here.
What other names do you have in the chat? Are you writing your own questions?
Actually, I actually have this other product here. Hold on. It was sent to me by
unbelievable.
These are the diver's shot glasses that I have. Neymar, who's a diver with his diving gear on. But I don't know where these are from. I just got them on
all right. While we're doing shameless plugs, make sure you drop us a follow on Twitter, ISWT Pod. We would love that support. Hit like and subscribe on the YouTubes if you haven't already. Hit subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy the soothing sounds of our voices on any podcast platform of your choice. All right, let's talk about some results that have already happened today, and we'll get into some other the midweek action for our player pool. Matt Turner, another clean sheet, boys. 4 games for the Arsenal. 3 clean sheets as they beat PSV Eindhoven at home 1-0. Granit Xhaka with the goal, who's being reinvigorated this season. He's a renaissance, this guy. He's still got a yellow card because that's what Granit Xhaka does. But good news for Matt Turner. Heath, I'll come back to you on this. I'm seeing some comments that maybe he's still not our number 1. We had Zach Steffen in Middlesbrough have a big 4-1 win yesterday, and that was important. They were down 1-0. They came back and scored 4 unanswered. Zach's seems like he's playing a little bit better, a little bit sharper. He can only do what he can with the guys in front of him. They do give up a lot of chances, but sometimes it makes you look better as a goalkeeper. Matt Turner, conversely, though getting the clean sheets, hasn't really been peppered at any point. You know, I mean, he's had to make a save here or there, but it's not like he's getting shelled like I think Zach Steffen is on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, that argument can be sold. That argument can be sold both ways, right? Which is like the best teams in the world require their goalkeepers to make 3 saves a game, and they got to be huge saves. I'm not saying that's Matt Turner, but Matt Turner in these circumstances is going to have to come up with a couple saves or 2. And I would argue that's a challenge in itself, right? Where you're not facing a lot of action. You got to stay dialed in and focused and be able to organize and then make those few plays that make you win games. We were talking about that with Maxime Crepeau with LAFC.
We're not ever questioning Matt Turner's goalkeeping abilities. I mean, he was peppered with the Revs, won goalkeeper of the year. We've seen what he can do as a goalie. It's not about the saves. It's about the feet, right? And I think, if anything, Arteta's comments about Matt Turner's progress and playing with his feet, that for me is what we should be focused on.
Okay.
Oh, I fully agree. But it's also about the way in which we decide we're going to play. You take it off the last 2 games, it doesn't matter what goalkeeper you put in. Now, if you want to force us to play out of the back, then yeah, it should be Zach Steffen for sure. But at the same time, we've seen Zach Steffen make mistakes with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Turner, though, is a different conversation. But overall, it's really easy to say, yeah, but he's not facing any action. Or, yeah, well, like, this guy is getting Europa League action as a goalkeeper before a World Cup. That is huge for us. I don't care if he doesn't touch the ball once. It is huge. I've played in games where you don't have a ton of action come up your side or whatever. But if it's in a big game and all of that, like I got battered by Bayern Munich in my first Bundesliga game. I left a better player. It's not always about like, oh yeah, he made 10 saves in the Europa League every game. That makes him better. It's the experience. It's so many other details that go into making him a better player that I think it's hugely beneficial, regardless of people saying, yeah, but it's an easy game or it's Europa League or he didn't face any action.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a nice flex that you played against Bayern Munich. I played against Real Madrid once, and I learned a lot in those 90 minutes.
No, you don't say.
I did. I learned a lot though in those 90 minutes, because when you're out on the field against some world-class players and you actually get to see what world-class looks like, you do learn how to handle yourself, how patient you have to be, how disciplined you have to be, how efficient those guys are at their runs, the timing of their runs, and how switched on you have to be at all times if you want to really compete with these guys consistently for a full 90 minutes. And I think to your point, Heath, it's a really valuable point, getting that experience, whether he's directly involved in everything and him getting shelled probably isn't always in his favor as well. I think it's important. I think it's an incredibly important point, and I'm glad you brought it up. Now it's your turn, Charlie, to tell us who you played against and learned a lot from.
What's the point of the show if we can't just flex,
Yeah, what's the point?
I'd say that the moment where I was playing against world-class players was Spain. And, you look at that back line, it was Puyol, Piqué, Sergio Ramos, and Capdevila. That was the back line. Casillas in goal. Seeing how they move, how they organize, and then Lucio the next game, Dani Alves, Maicon. You're forced to understand the tempo, and when you see that hole open in the gap, making sure you get into the channel so they can play you the ball, and you realize how important hold-up play is, because if you lose the ball against those quality teams, you don't touch it for a couple minutes, your team suffers, they point at you, so every touch has to be clean. Those, for me, are some of the moments that stand out to me when you're talking about top class, how fast the ball moves, how quick players interchange and communicate and talk. So
I also think what's interesting is that these players don't get trapped either, right? Mm-hmm. Like they can already see what you're trying to do, and they just go the other direction. Like, no problem. I've seen that before 1,000 times. To your point.
That's Xavi. That is Xavi, which, there's a graphic that popped up today on social media. Who is the player that
best player to never have won the Ballon d'Or?
Yes. And Xavi for me, because I'm like, how the hell this guy was so good. He was 5 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's Maicon really quick. I hadn't thought about Maicon in years. Wasn't he about 3 times your size, Charlie? Or like
he was a big back. Yeah.
He's a big dude. Big dude. All right, let's keep this conversation going. Let's stay in the Premier League, or at least with the Premier League team. Christian Pulisic subbed on in the 61st minute of Chelsea's 0-0 draw at Brentford. Both teams put 5 shots on target. I know that Christian had a good opportunity when he came on, started to drive the game like always. We're seeing reports now that, and I'm going to bring it up here because it was in part of our group text stuff. Apparently there's a report out there saying that Graham Potter loves having Christian Pulisic at the club, and Pulisic loves being at Chelsea. He has become a popular figure at the club. Also notes that a new contract is very possible, and he expects him to play more in the upcoming matches.
Oh, this is sick. This is playing with your emotions,
isn't it?
Yeah, but Jimmy, how much of that is where the Graham Potter happy to have Pulisic there? Of course he's going to say that. He's a new coach. He likes everybody there right now who's going to show him a good attitude. Right. To then somebody else filling in the gaps of what was said. Like, was that Graham Potter said that? Or, I don't think Graham Potter's talking new contract in the context of that.
No, he's probably not, but I still don't think he's definitely not going. I don't think he's going to be gone in January. I think he's going to have to stay out the whole season.
Januaries are hard for sure anyway, just because of what he would cost to leave is always tough within the budgeting of a season for any team that's, unless they're super desperate to spend the money it would cost to get him. But I mean, it's good hope.
Do you think Graham Potter has to play this kind of American favoritism because he's got an American owner?
No.
Or do you think that matters? No.
No.
Okay. I just want to have that part of the conversation.
They just want to win. At the end of the day, they want to win. They want a strong team. And if you're a manager and you can have a player like Christian Pulisic on the bench, of course I want him. I keep him.
Yeah,
I
right,
want all the weapons I can have. Because if one player gets injured, which is very likely because of all the matches they play, or a suspension, whatever it is, I have someone that can fill a spot, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to go down to the academy or to the reserve team or to like my fifth choice, right? I can go to a player who's done it, who's had success. And this is how you see, I think, the quality of managers on the mental space, keeping players engaged and motivated by talking to the media about a player who's not playing, and then at times when he has played, he's done well. You have to keep him engaged, because if you go in the media and go, I don't know about his future, I don't really rate him, or he's far behind, he's got to wait his chance. What is that going to do for Christian if you're on the sidelines just training hard? But if your manager goes and says, man, he's well liked here, everyone loves him, I can see us giving him a new contract, he's just got to wait his chance, but he's doing awesome, we're all proud of him. If I'm working hard, I'm going, okay, I'm going to get there. It's just the way you frame it for a player who's still engaged. You want him still bought in, because as soon as you lose those players on the bench, it's almost impossible to get them back, at least in the short term, right? So I think
what we saw last year, at least
smart man management.
Yeah. No. It's interesting to see.
But I agree with you, Charlie, and that only lasts so long, right? With each manager, you get that window of time that the player trusts you, right? Oh, yeah, I'm part of your plans. Like Charlie said, a manager's job is to manipulate that situation, right? Because if I can have a Christian Pulisic as number 6 on my bench or 5 on my bench, dream scenario, right? Not a dream scenario for Christian Pulisic, but if you can keep him motivated and get Christian Pulisic level performances out of your 6th on the bench or 5th or 4th or whatever that is, because we've seen them use 5 subs and he doesn't come in, that's a dream scenario until you need to be able to make the change. So if you're him, you're playing a little bit of that game of like either he's part of your plans or you're not, but you still need to extract all of the value you can out of a player like that to get results until you can move them. I mean, not to say I don't trust Graham Potter, because Graham Potter has become a manager the hard way. He has done the work to go from, Östersunds in Sweden, I believe. I don't know if he took over when they were in the 2nd division or first, but like literally climbing all the way up the ladder. I respect a guy like that because he's had to do that at every level to make it. Yeah.
2nd division in Sweden, that Superettan, think about that, to Chelsea. That is paying your dues. I mean, he managed against Greg Berhalter in the 2nd division in Sweden.
Who won? I'm curious. You got to go back and find that.
I'm pretty sure.
That way we could just say if Greg won, Greg is better than Graham Potter, and that's why Christian Pulisic should be.
Yeah, I think Potter's team won.
Either way, this whole thing just feels like a big distraction, and that doesn't bring you peace when you're a player and you got this other stuff that's floating around. Hopefully, we got a mental giant over there in Christian Pulisic who can handle all this stuff. So far, so good, but we'll see how it goes, because we're only judged by our World Cups, right? I mean, when you're with the national team, it's how you perform there. I mean, everybody can talk about friendly this, friendly that, but what are you doing in the biggest of games? That's the most important thing. All right, let's talk about Ricardo Pepi. Man scored again in Groningen's 3-0 win away from home. And what I loved about his goal, when I saw it, I'm like, Greg's starting him. He's starting him against Wales because he counter-pressed the holding midfielder, or center back stepped into the space and into the midfield with the ball. And Pepi came, good hard pressure late in the game, poked it away from him. And then, a couple plays later, he's on the end of it to tap it in. That for me is Greg's pressing system in a nutshell. And right now, Ricardo Pepi is playing that position to a T. Resident number 9, Charlie. Do you agree that Ricardo Pepi could be starting now?
You think he's going to do that against John Stones? I
do. I 100% believe it. I am going all in. Yes, I know they're playing not the greatest team ever in the Dutch first division in this particular game.
I think it was.
But John Stones makes mistakes sometimes, and if they're going to be overconfident, Charlie, you never know. You never know.
I'm just saying the level of quality where Pepi was playing in a cup match in Holland versus the center backs of England, quite different. But as a striker, sometimes you don't get service. In the World Cup, sometimes you're defending. You have to make plays to get involved in the final third. This is a perfect example of a player using the defense to turn into offense, the transition. And it's his play, checking back on the center back to win it off. And then he makes a great run to get in behind and get the goal. I love that because you have to find different ways to have an influence in the game, an impact in the game. That's what made him Ricardo Pepi. That's why he did so well with the U.S. men's national team in World Cup qualifying, because of his work ethic. He can play both sides of the ball, hard runs in the box, and he's confident right now. Confident right now, and that's why he made the move to the Dutch Eredivisie, because he needed playing time and he needed to find himself, find that confidence. He's doing that. I don't think it's a doubt that he's going to the World Cup. I still think it's in doubt if he starts. But if you watched Jesus Ferreira in the MLS Cup playoffs, he was playing like an 8. He was dropping way too deep. He was not threatening at all. And that's not hopeful if you're looking towards the World Cup in the group stage, because you need a striker who's going to be threatening, playing off the back shoulder of the center backs. That was not the case for Jesus Ferreira in the playoffs in a big match. Now, he scored the penalty, big pressure situation. You love to see that. But in terms of the run of play, didn't really satisfy the characteristics of a number 9 for the U.S. men's national team in a World Cup.
All right. Charlie has spoken, everybody. I don't know who he's starting then against Wales, Charlie, before I throw it over to Heath.
We're going to ask you every day.
Every single episode from here on out.
And you can pick somebody new every day.
You can. If you want to go with Chris Richards, you love Chris Richards. If you want to go with Chris Richards with the number 9.
Yeah. And if you don't want to answer these questions, Charlie, then you should have been a striker.
He practices with Crystal Palace. It's a Premier League team. Let's put him at the number 9.
Okay. Who I think starts is Jesus Ferreira. Who I would start, I'd start Ricardo Pepi.
Okay. Josh Sargent's playing pretty well too. Does a lot of the same things.
He does, but not all the same things that Ricardo Pepi offers this team. And then I'm still waiting for Jordy P-Folk. I see some people in the comments say, go on a rant. Jordy P-Folk is scoring goals. Now, being in the starting striker. He hasn't scored
lately, and he wasn't in the squad for Union Berlin this midweek.
What's lately? 2 matches?
I'll look it up. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
I will say Jordy P-Folk has to be included in the squad. Now, as a starter with the U.S. men's national team, probably not, because he's not great in that system with one striker. That's just not his thing. But if my man goes in to a game where we're down a goal, we need to score, you're playing 2 up top, you're giving more support to that number 9, that's your guy. You need a goal scorer. You need someone who's just going to be the fox in the box, Jordy P-Folk. So there's my rant on P-Folk. There's my rant on the 9.
Listen, I might have to pause your rant here because Jordy P-Folk hasn't scored in over a month.
How many games?
He had an assist against Borussia Dortmund. It's 6 games.
6 games he hasn't scored?
5 games. Sorry, 5 games he hasn't scored. And he's only scored 1 in his last 8. I'm not adding anything else to that, everybody. I'm just saying those are the stats. 1 goal and 1 assist in his last 8 games. That's it.
Wow.
All competitions. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
It's not neither here nor there.
Yeah, it still doesn't change.
Pepi didn't score for a year, so it's not an issue here.
It still doesn't change anything for me.
I agree. I think he should be in the squad
starting
too.
on the top team in the Bundesliga.
I get it.
Yeah, that's it. Done.
I get it.
I'm good.
I get it. Heath, you want to jump in on this number 9 conversation?
Only that. My quick question back to Charlie would be, I know it's against a lower division team in Holland that Pepi scores. He scores in the 90th minute. They're already winning 2. But
2-0.
The fact that he scores, they're winning 2-0, sorry. And he makes it 3 in the 90th minute. The fact that he scores in the way that he did, right? Tracking back to get the ball. But the fact that he does score, period. Is that worth something to you, Charlie? Because it's connecting to a number of goals that he's already scoring, right? It's a form thing right now. And for him, leaving that game from a confidence standpoint of, hey, this is a game I should have had goals and I didn't get goals, versus, hey, I got my goal after having some chances throughout the game against the lower division team, are 2 different thought processes, right?
100% the goal matters. As a striker, you're working to score. You're working to find confidence. You have to prove yourself. He's on loan there. You have to go into the game and show the desire and the hunger to score, even if it's up 2-0. He didn't have to bust his butt to make toe poke and win the ball as an attacker. I love it.
In that stage of the game, we're like 85th, 80. He's still locked in, and
it was hungry.
Hungry. I want my strikers hungry. My man is hungry. I'm not taking anything away from the goal. What I'm saying is, it's not like he's playing against John Stones or Kyle Walker or, some of those big time players. But a goal's a goal. The work ethic, it still counts. And that's something that's going to be needed in the World Cup.
All right, we're going to take our first and only break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about a bunch of grown men in small shorts kicking a ball in a certain direction. Don't go anywhere.
The UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration. That's brilliant! With more magic and more drama. While a former Bavarian nails the back of the net in Barcelona, an American trades his stars with zebra stripes, and a Norwegian creates sky blue spectacles. Oh, so stream every sweat-soaked second of regulation time, stoppage time, and extra time. Beyond magnificent! This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to In Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Heath Pearce, and we are excited that you're joining us. We appreciate your support. And now it's time to talk about some more players in our U.S. men's national team player pool, see how sharp they are going into this World Cup. We are 30 days away exactly from the World Cup beginning in Qatar. It is going to be pretty ridiculous, and I look forward to the whole event kicking off and to see how everything plays out. But let's talk about Gio Reyna, who I hope we get on the show one day, boys. That would be pretty awesome if he ever comes on In Soccer We Trust. That would be one of our greatest gets of all time. But he came on as a sub in the 68th minute for Borussia Dortmund in the DFB Pokal, the German Cup, and it was a 2-0 win against Hanover. I thought he was excellent in his 22 minutes. Heath, as our Germany Bundesliga expert, I'll let you chime in first on this, and playing in the DFB Pokal and how difficult that can be at times to try to maybe get the energy up to make that happen, to match the energy from the lower division teams. Yeah. So what do you think about this? Gio looked excellent. What's interesting is he combined a lot with Jude Bellingham, and he looked like he was having fun. And I love when Gio Reyna has a smile on his face when he plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's more minutes for him, which I think is really important. It's against a legit opponent. Obviously, the issues is that there's just different, right? When you're playing Champions League, when you're playing in the league and you're competing for things, the cup, when you're at a club that size, it means something, but you know that you have enough depth to win those games, right? They played against, I think it was Hanover in that match. But for him to continue to get minutes and feel better and better to get further and further from his injuries, I think is super, super important. But also a chance to maybe try things with a little bit less pressure, right? When you get minutes against a team where, you come on the field, you're already up, and it's in a cup match. So the cup match is a cup is a big deal. Anywhere in the world, the cups are a big deal, but you're not always playing in front of as big or as lively of a crowd. Like you said, Jimmy, it's not always as easy to get up for it as it would be, say, the Champions League. But for him to get another game, I'm just happy, right? To just I every time Dortmund play, I either I watch the game or I look on the live ticker, and I'm terrified because of just how good he is. I'm not kidding. I'm terrified because of just how good he is. When you see him isolated, one-on-one situations, and I'm going to keep on saying this, he's still got the most upside of maybe any player we've ever had for the U.S. national team pool, and the age that he is and where he's at in his progress. And so I'm terrified just seeing him because I'm like, what is actually wrong with his body? Is he past it? But when he finishes any game, whether it's 10 minutes or it's 90 minutes, I just get super excited about kind of the fact that
he's got that smooth cut, that silky smooth cut. Oh,
and this change of speed. I mean, when he makes the decision to go and he sees the pass that he wants to make, and then he changes his speed to get into a good spot to then receive it, is awesome. And again, I know that it was the German Cup and they're playing a lower division team, and there's probably a little bit more space to do what he wants to do. But Charlie, I was really impressed with how he looked, and I can't emphasize enough that he does look like he's enjoying himself, and maybe he just felt good, felt healthy. He had that spring in his step, could trust his muscles to do what he wanted them to do, because it feels like at times, or at least in the past, that he was a little nervous not to maybe push and to accelerate or to sprint because I'm going to get another strain or I'm going to pull my muscle again.
I think when you look at his injuries, maybe he gets over it and he thinks it's done and you don't have to constantly work. When you play a match now, I got an ice bath. I got to do all this strengthening. It never stops. Like, you always have to continue to monitor and think about recovery, but also the strengthening aspect. So it's a process from start to finish. And I think for him, it's understanding your body, when to push, when to relax, when to focus on strengthening versus when to think about ice bathing and the game ready. He's a special player. There's no doubt. I would love to see him be 90 minutes fit and ready. It is James. It is the U.S. training kit, the warm-ups. But I will say,
I love when Charlie just stops and answers questions.
He's an absolute baller. He's a game changer for us. I think he would be better suited to be more central. The problem is we're congested because that's the strongest part of our team. Yunus Musa, Tyler Adams, and Weston McKennie. So it'll be interesting to see how Greg moves forward in the World Cup if from here on out, Gio Reyna doesn't get injured and he keeps building his match fitness. I think Brendan Aronson is no longer a starter, but it's Timo Weah or Reyna, and then you have Pulisic on the other side, and then your 9, whoever it's going to be, Pepi or Ferreira.
Okay. Charlie's making some big statements here today, Heath. Let's talk about
Jimmy. Do you disagree though that like this is a constant issue I deal with of all the positions? It's the right midfield position that I cannot figure out how we get those guys all on the field. I don't want to bench Aronson. I don't want to bench Weah. I don't want to bench Reyna. But
I honestly
can't play.
I really appreciate, and one of the things I should have mentioned when talking about how Gio played in this game was that he was popping up more centrally. And I know Charlie likes him in that spot too. He just feels like he's more involved. He's not stuck on a wing. He's not hugging a sideline. When you're in the middle of the field, you can turn either direction. When you're on the sideline, you can really only turn one. And some players are built for that. Christian Pulisic is one of those players. He likes to pick it up on the sideline and run at you. Gio Reyna can do it, but I think he just prefers to be in the middle. So that means we have to sacrifice somebody else. Do we have the courage? If Weston McKennie isn't playing well, does Greg Berhalter and his coaching staff have the courage to have Musa and Adams with Gio Reyna on the top of that little triangle in midfield? And then Timo Weah on the right. Brendan Aronson's our super sub. Christian Pulisic on the left and Ricardo Pepi up top. Does he have that, or Ferreira up top, whoever he goes with? I don't know. I mean, he might have to consider it. It's not like Weston's blowing it up right now. He's been solid. He's picked up his game in the last 1 or 2 when he needed to because it wasn't going well for him. But these are tough decisions, and you have to wonder, how do I get all these talented players on the field at the same time, to your point, Heath? So these are options. But what pisses me off is that we had those 4 games in June, and we didn't try anything different. We didn't try. It pisses me off. I'm a broken record.
I'm with you. I always think about what if we did a 4-2-3-1 with the 2 sitting 6s, Tyler Adams and Weston, and then the 3 in front of them, Gio Reyna, Christian Pulisic, and Yunus Musa. And those are your 3 attacking midfielders. They could, obviously be super advanced and almost be like all 10s, but they also can help defensively and clog up the middle. And transition game, you don't have to worry. That transition is going to be fire. And then you have Timo Weah up top as the 9. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved, but it's too late. You can't experiment
it's too late now.
Yeah,
right.
But it's too late to really try
now, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, my thought on that is exactly that. Like, the more I think about just having more of our attackers connected, at a certain point, MMA has to break up. If you don't change, if you want to play this way, but you want to add a Gio Reyna, MMA has to break up. We don't want to break up MMA. So you need to think differently about how you're going to connect them, because if you played 4-2, 2 sitting in front of your back line, 3-1, you're losing someone from MMA, right? Yeah, and you got to be comfortable with that. I think that'd be fantastic. But like you said, it's late.
I would lose Weston actually, and maybe bring him on, and I would keep Musa. I would start Musa next to Adams if I was going to do it. If you have to ask me right now.
No, Musa's not a 6.
He could be the 8. You can just have Adams kind of sit, and then Musa can just pick a spot.
Who's the 6 then?
Adams is the 6. Musa's the 8, and then you have Gio Reyna as the 10. I'm not in the Charlie 4-2-3-1 right now. I'm in my own 4-3-3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, you're taking an L versus my team. I can tell you that right now.
Jimmy, what's that like? What's that like going into your second World Cup game with 0 points because you just took an L right now?
You took that L.
I don't know. You never know. Depends.
I don't know, man. Even in a 4-2-3-1, it's again, it comes back to the argument of like which of your 3 in MMA is coming off if you're going to change anything. To add Gio Reyna in there to make sure you want to get Aronson on.
I just included all 3. I just included all 3 in my 4-2-3-1.
Okay,
Weston is alongside Tyler Adams. Those are my 2 6s. Weston obviously has a little bit more freedom, but he's going to be super disciplined in this system. I'm going to tell him, I know you love to get forward. You're going to have to hold. That's just how it is.
I think Musa's a better 6 than McKennie.
I agree.
Not in the air.
Damn, I just took the L too, Jimmy. We just both lost to Charlie.
Not in the air, not tackling. You want Musa to be more advanced because he's.
I get
on the
that you
dribble.
want
You
him
don't
to
want
be
your
that. That's not the question. The question is who's the better of the six, Musa or McKinney?
Yeah, he's our Pirlo, baby. He's that
Stop
he's that
Stop
6
it.
on offense.
He is not
10 on
defensive.
defense.
He's an attacking. He's more of an attacking minded player.
So is Weston. I'm just saying that I think that Musa would do more of the defensive work than Weston. That's what I'm saying.
You might say he'll work harder. I'd say defensively, who's going to give you more of an advantage? It'd be Weston McKinney because of his aerial ability and his tackling ability.
That's fair.
That's what he's supposed to do for Juve. It's just tackle, get it off your feet, and then make late runs in the box, be dangerous on set pieces. That's it. Okay. That's what I want from him as my 6. That way you can still include imagine Musa, Pulisic, and Reina together in the midfield. All three can dribble, all three can pass, all three can score goals, all three can defend if you needed them to be. I mean, Musa more so than those two. And then you have Timo Werner to stretch back line, so they can't all be condensed on that midfield.
And you've still got Aronson off. You've still got Aronson out of your team. Yeah.
Hey, everybody in the comment section, come on, let's go. The 4-2-3-1.
I love that this is all.
You're just chucking way up.
It's all hypothetical because it's not going to go this way. I'll just be pissed. I'll just say this: that all of a sudden we get into the World Cup and then we start to try some of the stuff that we should have been trying months in advance, or months ago. But whatever. All right, so let's get through the other games of note. Sevilla Valencia 1-1 on Tuesday. Yunus Musa started that one, came off as a sub. I think the big one though is that we had Josh Sargent and Norwich taking on Ethan Horvath and Luton. And Luton won 1-0, but Sargent came off at halftime due to a knock. Now, they're saying it's not that significant. They just wanted to be precautious. But a knock is a knock is a knock, and we've seen a lot of guys have those knocks turn into something much longer. Timo Weah in particular, who had an ankle injury that, from what I understand, lasted a lot longer than maybe should have, or maybe he was back healthy in the team, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, it feels like, on that one. But still, obviously, something to be concerned about given how well Josh Sargent has been playing for Norwich. All right, let's get to final thoughts. Heath Pearce, I'm coming to you first on your final thought of this great podcast, as always. Appreciate you guys' conversation, and the chat's popping off, which I always appreciate. Heath, take it away.
Hey, no, I just say that, like, both in the comments and you two, these are really fun conversations because it shows the fluidity of us, even ourselves, having to be open-minded about what a lineup, what a formation, what a system of play would be in a World Cup versus a friendly versus a qualifier, and how you go about getting the most of our players. And you can start to poke holes in everything along the way, which means we are definitely a work in progress. But it just sucks we don't have any more games to try to figure out what that is, and we use those two to try to figure something else out. I don't know what we were trying to figure out, but whatever it was, we checked that off the list.
Well, hopefully we figured out that what we want to do isn't going to probably work, and that we have to be ready to be fluid and adjust. So I'm actually glad I wrote this. I tweeted it after the Japan game that I'm glad we got punched in the face, because it's going to make us have to adapt. We didn't really adapt all that well against Saudi Arabia, but still, I think there's a lot to gain from that. Just like our experiences against Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Am I right, Heath? I'm going to tie those two points together. Charlie, final thoughts from you.
National team coming out of the World Cup, we'll go to the 4-2-3-1. We'll try that. But yeah, this episode was fire. I mean, they're all fire,
of course.
But I'm hyped for the next couple of shows. We might have a special guest. I don't know.
I heard we always have a special guest. We bring out the big guns.
I think Charlie should get the job of formation specialist for U.S. Soccer. Well, actually, you know what's funny?
Like that should be technical director, no?
Jimmy, I know you're closing this out, but they had that interview with what's his name from Brentford and Graham Potter after the game the other day, and they got to ask each other a question, and they asked Graham Potter. He asked Graham Potter straight up, like, why do you play with so many different formations? And he goes, well, it depends on the opponent, the players that we have, and all these things, but what we play within those formations should all be consistent across all of our formations. And I found that to be a really interesting sort of thought process of that. No, we play the same. It's just the starting points of players are different. And I thought just that consistency is a really, really powerful thing that I obviously you assume it, but you don't, when he's put it into words, it really gave some context to me.
Yeah, that's great. And you hope that the players are absorbing that information so that consistency can come out on the field. And I think that's the trick with the top coaches is how they communicate and how that communication is being received by 25 different personalities and
It was
players.
Thomas
that
Frank,
play
by the
different
way.
ways.
Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank.
Do either of you have aspirations to coach at some point in your?
I do. I'm working on my A license.
Yeah. Like I'm being MLS head coach. That would be.
Right now, I'm working on brainwashing America's youth. So that's where my focus is at the moment.
Okay.
But I think
Jimmy's going to coach a team in that soccer tournament, and he's going to be the highest paid coach in
the 77?
in the U.S.
I got in. I'm in on the
$1 million.
77. I paid the entry fee, and I'm out to get $1 million next June. So you guys be on the lookout. I might have to have
your
a tryout.
7 pick. Do you already have your 7 picks?
I haven't picked anybody.
He'll put you in. He'll let you play that Shaq role, backing somebody into the box for $1 million.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I've received a call about my interest in playing.
Why don't we can join forces? We can have an In Soccer We Trust team if you want.
Yeah.
That's what we should do. We should do. Well, you know what? We'll talk to the powers that be to make that happen. That is my final thought. So enjoy the MLS playoff games tonight, everybody. And we'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, live here on the YouTubes. You can catch it on your podcast platform of choice anytime you want, and we'll break down all the big things that are happening for these guys, this player pool, ahead of the big games this weekend, because we're getting closer to that November 9th deadline where the roster gets announced for the U.S. Men's National Team World Cup and all the players that are going to go for Greg Berhalter and his staff. All right, that's it. We're done.
Let's go.
Thank you for everything.
Thank
See
you,
next
CBS,
time.
for
Later.
the C 77.